Guys, our friends from NordVPN are on a mission to keep you safe when you're online. With Nord's help, the internet can be safe of cybercrime, theft, and surveillance. Nord is much more than just a VPN. NordVPN's threat protection is going to shield you from malware, trackers, and ads, while their dark web notifies you of any potential leaks or threats. The meshnet will allow you to connect your devices remotely and securely, and the dedicated IP will allow you to avoid CAPTCHAs and block lists. But my favorite part about NordVPN is that they're privacy conscious. They do not track what you do or share, whether you're sending or receiving anything online. And you will always be protected with a robust encryption. One account can protect up to 6 devices with 24/7 customer support and a 30-day money-back guarantee. NordVPN customer service cannot be beat. Become safer online with a single click and the fastest VPN on the planet. Get NordVPN's 2-year plan plus 4 months free when you go to nordvpn.com/Sonnen or click on the link below. I'm surprised at myself how pins and needles, if you will, I have been towards UFC 300. Who is it going to be? The speculation. Not to mention the hater side, where you're not going to be able to get this fight. Oh, you can't do that fight. Aspinall versus Pereira, Gaethje versus Holloway. You know, I mean, I'll just share with you that it has been interesting because Dana White never bluffs, does he? You couldn't tell me a time. You could tell me times you thought he was bluffing. You could tell me times that he told you this sport is just starting. You could tell me times that he said we're going to do 40-plus shows a year. You could tell me times he said we're going to build our own complex. You could tell me times that he said we're going to go international. But you can't tell me a time that he was bluffing. You could tell me a time that he said we're going to go mainstream. And everybody said, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not. You could tell me a time that he said we're going to get an island. You could tell me a time he said we're going to be the only sport in the world that comes back and we're going to do it first. We're going to make it safe, but you can't tell me a time that he was bluffing. And he says he's got a super fight that fell in his lap. Wow. Now, we don't know what in the hell super fight means, do we, guys? Super fight used to come with a belt. It used to be a title. And I loved it. It's the most beautiful belt, by the way, but it was the great fight. The super fight was so fun. I mean, this is way back in 93, 94, 95. You're right. These times where you bring 2 guys in that were stars, 2 guys that knew each other. The whole sport up until that point was just 2 guys. He was representing this discipline and he's representing this discipline. When you did super fights, you had 2 guys that had already been there that we'd already seen before. It was so fun. Do you guys remember Saturday night's main event? Are you old enough to remember that? Vince McMahon, back when it was great, when it was WWF, like it still should be, he would have Saturday morning wrestling, and it would be complete squash matches. There would be a guy and tell a story, and he would just come out against a jobber, and he would just squash him. And that's all it was, and it did great. People love to see that, but Saturday night's main event is where he would take those guys that are doing the squashing and put them against each other. Every Saturday morning, you'd see one guy you know versus a guy you don't know. And Saturday night's main event was 2 guys that you knew. That might sound small. That might sound obvious to you. But at the time when that first was being done, it was such a treat. And Saturday night's main event has gone away because there's just no way to do it. Now that's called Raw. If you're coming out of the tunnel on Raw, on TV, people know who you are, both sides of it. So that's what Superfight used to represent, but there's no actual rules with it. You don't have to have a belt with it. Over time, we have started to reserve the term Superfight for champion versus champion. Where to be a Superfight, you would need a parity that you could not get on any other night. Tonight you can have it, it's a super fight. Adesanya versus Blachowicz, great example. 2 different weight classes. My point to you is we got a guy who never bluffs saying he's got a super fight, but before you hold him to anything or box him in and say, well, then you must produce such and such. No, not really. Superfight doesn't come with a definition. We do know, right, that's the big one. When you say superfight, you are superseding in terms of wow factor title fight, and you're superseding main event. Okay, superfight does not open the card. Superfight is not third down. Superfight, wow. What do you got there? And that would be speculation at best, right? I mean, I'm the first to have told you the rush to get Strickland versus Duplessis to the market has to do with 300, and it has to do with the return of Izzy. But at the same time that I told you that, I made it clear to you that's not done. That's not even agreed upon. Strickland, Duplessis have not even been notified of this. It's just a working idea. And Izzy got his court case cleared up so that he may enter Canada, so that he may be there to greet the winner. Now, where that goes, right? I mean, that's tomorrow's problem. Got a lot of pieces here. Izzy came out and said, I'm on track, I'll be back. And I project, the way that I heal, I project that I'll be back at the end of next month. If that is accurate information, then Izzy will not be fighting at UFC 300, not 3 rounds or 5 rounds. If his return to practice is on March 1st, he will not be fighting in April, but that doesn't mean that is accurate information, right? This is from the same guy that said my next fight will be in 2027. So, got a little bit of wiggle room. What's he getting on a plane and flying out to Canada for to greet the winner of that fight? If he's not in a position to take the fight, I'm just suggesting for you, right? But let's say that that information's true and that removes a possibility of Izzy. Because there's another rumor out there that we need to end. We don't want Pereira versus Izzy is a very bad idea. Don't do that. But that rumor still exists. So we can chalk that off the board if he doesn't show up. That takes you from 2 different rumors. And you're still left with Superfight. And what does that mean?